got a really cool part for today's install, and I'm very blessed and excited to be one of the first to have one of these parts specifically for the 2015 Plus Subaru WRX and STI platform. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce this new part. Alright guys, so this is the big mouth ram air intake snorkel from Velossa Tech, and it is intended for the 2015 through 2021 Subaru WRX and STI. Huge shout out to Velossa Tech for sending me this beautiful piece. So if you didn't know, Velossa Tech is a Florida-based company well known in the Ford and Hyundai market for their big mouth customizable ram air intake snorkels, but they've recently tapped into the Subaru market with this piece right here. So the cool part about it is that this product was designed by ex-aerospace engineers, and the product can come in 28 different colors with removable bell mount flares. And it comes in two versions, the LED RGB and the traditional version, which is the one I have right in front of me. So there's several benefits that you can expect to see from this snorkel, one of which is that it closes the gap from the grille to the intake shroud, and I'll show you guys all of this here in a second here. So once that gap is closed, it directs more air to the intake, thus increasing air pressure to the turbo. And Velossa Tech actually backs this up with a lot of data. I will post it on the screen somewhere right here, but I plan on doing a follow-up video on this. For now, I want to focus on the installation process just because I have a couple of concerns with my current setup, one of which is the hella horns. You can't see it from there, but I do want to test it to make sure that it fits with the horn bracket. So what I have currently installed is the Compressive Tuning SmartFlow shroud. It looks cool, and it's kind of similar in terms of the functionality, except this Velossa Tech snorkel closes up this gap right here, which is obviously very important if you want to direct air straight from the duct to the intake. And I don't mean to bash any brands here. Compressive Tuning makes great stuff, but with Velossa Tech and the data they provide to back up their product, it's more superior than the SmartFlow shroud. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing installed. And this should be a fairly straightforward install. You get 6 washers and 2 5mm Allen bolts and a nut right here. So I will show you guys exactly what you need to do on how to install this. Alright, so I gave the car just a little rinse so it's not as dirty as it appears on the video. But the first thing you want to do is to go ahead and remove the front bumper. And I'm not going to go through step by step on how to do that. I will, however, link the Subi Bros video down below on how to remove front bumper. That's the most intuitive one out there that I found, so shout out to Subi Bros for that. And yeah, let's get started on this install. Alright guys, so I finally got the front bumper off, and as you can see, I have some hella horns on the car. If you have a Subi, you have hella horns. That's just how it goes, I guess. But one of my main concerns is that the fitment of the snorkel won't fit because of this left horn right here. And as you can see, the parent hella horn bracket is upside down. The reason for that is because I had to get as much adjustability as possible on this left side right here in order to make this shroud work, since it's already touching on the bottom right there. Again, I'll have to see if the snorkel will have any issues. From the looks of it, it shouldn't, since it kind of curves in like that, and the horn would hopefully just hide behind right there, but we'll have to see and make some adjustments as necessary if it doesn't fit. And of course, I forgot to state the obvious, the SmartFlow shroud will have to come off in order to make room for the Velossa Tech big mouth snorkel. But you know, I don't mind so much. Don't get me wrong, this thing was great, but Velossa Tech actually focused on closing up this gap right here where it matters the most, since that's where the air goes into the intake. So with the Compressive Tuning shroud, it relies on the air going through here and hopefully making it through this part right here, relying on this rubber piece. So again, my intention is not to bash on any brands here. As you can see, I still run the Compressive Tuning fender shrouds. Those are dope, by the way. But I couldn't find any data on the SmartFlow shroud that they have. With Velossa Tech snorkel, there's a bunch of data on lower temps, more undisturbed air going to the intake, and just more data along those lines that support their product. So let's go ahead and start the process of installing the snorkel, and we'll kind of do a bunch of trial and errors. Like I said, I want to see if the snorkel will work with the parent hella horn bracket or if additional modifications are required. Alright, so let's go ahead and start the process of installing this thing. The first thing you want to do is to remove this plastic trim right here. Mine is already off since I had to remove it for the Compressive Tuning shroud, but it was simply on top right there like that, and it was held in by a few push clips. So you just want to pop those off and then take this off. I don't think we'll use it anymore. So after you get that plastic trim off, the next thing you want to do is to remove this front cross member bar right here. And in order to do that, you need to remove 7 10mm bolts on each side right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this shroud removed. And this Allen bolt is actually from the compressive tuning shroud kit. So I'm going to put back the stock one for the purposes of this install. Alright, so I pretty much got the car as close as possible to stock. If you don't have the hella horns, then obviously just imagine those gone. But yeah, this is as close as I'm going to get. As you can see, I have the shroud over there, the compressive tuning shroud. And this is just a bare front end. So I flipped back the hella horn bracket to the correct orientation, and now I'm gonna see if the Velossa Tech fits over it. And this is the moment of truth. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous because I want this to work out. So here we go. So it looks like it's gonna work. I feel the mounting spot over here. Okay, so got the bracket off. I'm gonna show you guys how to mount this Velossa Tech Snorkel. So under here, so here's the front of it. Under here, you can see it's threaded, and this is actually gonna be threaded to this tab right here. If you guys can see that, I'm gonna move my camera closer over here. So it's gonna get threaded to this tab right here, just above the radiator. And actually, I'm gonna mention this because I thought it was really clever. So over here on the back side of it, there is this foam. And I think the purpose of that is to seal it completely. So once you put it on there, the foam is there to just kind of keep as much air out as possible. And I just thought that was a clever thing for them to do. Let's go ahead and get it mounted. What you want to do is your kit's going to come with 2 Allen bolts. You want to take the shorter one, put a washer over it, and you get your 5mm Allen key, put it on top, and then you simply just want to line it up, and then just gotta be very, very patient with this step. Once you find that thread, go ahead and thread it on there. So I got it fully secured on there, and I can tell it's fully sealed just because there's no gaps or anything right here anymore. So that's how you know you got a proper seal, meaning all the air is going to go through this, through the shroud to that intake. So now let's go ahead and get the hella horn bracket mounted and finish up the install. All right, so I got some bad news. I spoke too soon. When I tried to put the bracket back on, this thing was too flush up against the backside of it. So the horn was touching, and I tried to put it at the lowest setting, and it still didn't work. So what I did was I flipped the parent bracket upside down and I mounted the horns this way. But I'm not really a fan of doing that in the first place. I only did this as a temporary solution for the compressive tuning shroud. So it works, as you can see. It kind of touches the backside of the Snorkel. But what I'm gonna do is, I remember the horns came with these little metal tabs or flanges, whatever you want to call them, and I'm gonna see if I can use these and just get rid of the bracket altogether. So I really want to make this work. We're so close, so let's get it. Okay guys, so I actually got it figured out. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what I ended up doing. So what I tried doing was I tried mounting this the correct way, which is like this, but it didn't clear the Snorkel right here. The horn was pushing up against it too far up, and my initial thoughts were obviously incorrect, but I'm glad we got this figured out. Now I feel a little scammed because I thought you needed a bracket for the hella horns to work, but you really can just get the horns and the wiring harness and then just figure out how to mount it on your car. So What I ended up doing was I used the little tabs that the horns came with. The horns came with 6 of them, and I just combined 3 on each side and mounted them closer to the center. So the entire time I could have just done this, but I was too busy trying to make the bracket work. But this is just fine. And it touches slightly on the Snorkel, but this is perfect. With this, it could have worked if I drilled another hole right here or somewhere to the right, but I didn't want to deal with all that. So I'm glad that I kept those tabs and I made use of them. All right, so now that I got the Snorkel mounted and I got the hella horns exactly where I want them to be, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the front crossmember. All right, so I got the crossmember loosely fitted on here, and I wanted to point out a couple things before I move on to the next step. One of which is this tab that's attached to the headlight. So you wanna make sure that the crossmember is tucked behind that plastic tab right there, light shining right on it, so it's like a U shape. Just make sure that the crossmember is behind that tab. It's just so it adds a little more tension to the headlights and it keeps it secure on there. I'm gonna go to the other side right here. Should be the same exact thing. All right, guys, so there's one step left in order to get this thing fully installed. And so you're looking at the car from the side. This is the front of the car, and this is the back of the car right here where the alternator cover is. And so what you want to do is you get the Allen bolt, the second one, and you put a washer on top of that. Grab another washer or spacer, whatever you want to call it. Put it in between these 2 tabs right here, where my index finger is. So this is the top of the crossmember. And there's the other tab. You just want to put a spacer in between that. And then you get your Allen bolt and you just simply fish it through. Now on the back side of it, it includes a nut, and the instructions didn't say to add a spacer on this, but I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. I figure it can't hurt. And then we're simply just going to tighten this down. And after that's tightened, you want to go ahead and tighten down all of the bolts that we removed from this crossmember right here. So let's go ahead and do that and then finish up the install. So I got everything put together, and then I actually spent a couple hours cleaning the car. I kind of made a separate video in the middle of this video just because I didn't want this one to be super long. I wanted it to be focused on the Velossa Tech Snorkel. So what I did was I made another video of the front grille that I have installed right here. So as you can see, I bought this front grille for this Snorkel so that you can clearly see it better, and I just think it looks a lot meaner and a lot more sleek than the OEM one. So I'm gonna shine my light on it so you guys can see it, and it is looking mean. I figure I have the bumper off, I might as well just do 2 things at once, save some time. And also I put the front lip back on. It just looks so much better once everything is in place and complete. So yeah, the install is pretty much complete, but I wanted to go over a couple things before I close out the video. So keep in mind, I will be making a follow-up video to this. I wanted to go more in detail and mainly answer any questions you guys have in that separate video. I'm gonna give this one some time to accrue some questions, and then I will do my best to address those. And keep in mind, I did clarify these questions with the founder of Velossa Tech, Dan. And first question is the most obvious one: is a tune required for this Snorkel? So what Dan said was that you don't have to have a tune. When they tested the product, they had a tuner on premise to look at all the numbers and all the data and just see any variables and stuff like that. So a tune is not required, but there's always a but. To take full advantage of the Snorkel, then a tune would be best. So I plan on getting retuned here in the near future. I want to see how much more power I can squeeze out of the car. And the second obvious question is, are there any issues with water, whether that's from rain, snow? And according to Dan, absolutely 0 issues on 37 platforms, ranging from Fords to Chevys. No issues with water, and they actually test these products in Florida during rainstorms, in Canada during the snow. So it's just highly unlikely that water will get into the intake and just cause the engine to lock up. So that's something that you should really not worry about if you decide to go with the Snorkel. So like I said, those are the 2 main questions that I'm sure everyone's wondering about. I'm sure I will think of more, and like I said, I will put that in a separate video just to go more in depth But yeah, aside from the issues with the horns, the install was a breeze. You know, as with any install that requires removing the bumper, the hardest part is putting it back on without scratching anything. It would have taken me, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes, if that, if I didn't have any issues with the horns, as well as removing the compressive tuning shroud. And one last thing to note is that you can choose to remove this piece right here. The purpose of this was to seal this area right here if you have a stock setup, but now that we have this is not really needed anymore. But I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it on for now and just yeah, worry about it some other time. It closes just fine. And another cool thing to mention is that the lips on these things are interchangeable. I did see that they offer different shapes. I like the standard look right here. And something I want to consider getting in the future is the LED version, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So imagine this right here as is, but with an LED light that you can change the color from your phone. So I think that's a pretty cool and unique idea. Definitely something I'll be interested in the future. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out. Big shout out to Velossa Tech for sending me this piece. If you're interested in the product, I will link it in the description below. Install was a breeze, fitment is spot on, and it looks really cool. What's not to like about it? If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.